Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect.
How's it going, Sally?
Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going? Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they go into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me.
Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
Guarcianiemi and Hawken are beginning to appear as though they'll be the major players of the season. Though fast drivers such as Hisada, Sanchez, and Tixey are all nipping at their heels to steal valuable points. But it should wind up being equal footing for everyone here today with our first ever visit to Fuji Speedway. Who will claim the inaugural win? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 6 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Christian Challoner. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Fuji is iRacing's latest addition to its cadre of Japanese circuits. Let's head to our track guide to learn a little bit more about it. Welcome to Fuji International Speedway. Built right at the foot of the picturesque Mount Fuji and a mere 1.5 hour drive southwest of Tokyo, it certainly resides in a prime location. Having been around since 1967, this place is perhaps most well known for its presence in the classic video game Pole Position. However, its modern incarnation looks nothing like it did back when that game came out in 1982. At just under 3 miles, or 4.5 kilometers, its two layouts have 14 and 16 turns, which is significantly more than what it started with. Without the banking that used to be a part of the first and final corners, its most notable feature nowadays is the front stretch that covers nearly a full mile. The turns that make up the other half of the track make for quite a technical challenge. It includes everything from the long sweeper of 100R to the tight confines of hairpin, to the finicky back and forth of nets. This place hosted Formula One back in the 70s and again in the later 2000s, but it has a much stronger history hosting endurance racing. Sports cars are still a heavy staple here. That's not to say open-wheelers don't still call this place home, though. Lower level formulas, as well as Japan's popular Super Formula, make frequent visits. From humble origins in sim racing's history to arriving 40 years later on iRacing, Fuji has been a fan favorite for a long, long time. Well, Christian, I'm looking forward to this one because this is a new and interesting track. The only thing that makes me a little sad is they can't run the old banked layout, but this should still be pretty fun.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. If I'm honest, it would have been so cool to see these cars on, say, the old 70s, 80s, or even 90s layout of the track, where that last long corner used to be just an epic run onto the front stretch. But despite that, it's still such a high-speed circuit, and this front stretch that we've got, even though there is a hairpin at each end, I think there's going to be a ton of passing today. Getting onto the brakes into turn 1 is going to be a huge deal, and then even through 100R and into the hairpin, it's actually such a difficult combination to get right. It looks deceptively easy, I would say. But I do think that we should be in for a great race, even if it does look a little bit foggy in sim right now.
Yeah, and there you see a little bit of that. As for the race details, other than the foggy weather, as we mentioned, it is halfway into the season. Only 20 laps that they're going to be doing around here. It's a relatively long lap around this track. Open setup in this series. Drivers are pretty free about sharing that setup with one another, trying to find speed. But getting that gearing right down that long front stretch will be important. No spare car, but this is a modern Formula One track, so there's a lot of paved runoff and places where you can escape without actually doing damage to the car. They, however, will have to watch out for running off track and getting incidents because they'll get a drive-through penalty at 17 or a disqualification at 25. And let's take a look at the championship. Now, Kortanimi took his second win in a row, but is still 25 points behind Brandon Hawken. That's about half a win's worth of points, a little less than that, really, that he's trying to gain on Brandon. So he should be able to run that down. If he keeps beating him, Brandon has got to strike back at some point if he wants to hold on to that points lead. That's assuming they're the two main ones up top. Now, Toka Hisada's been quick, but a little bit accident-prone at times, but I wouldn't be surprised if he is definitely in the hunt. We'll see if he's here today trying to vie for a home win at this track, and I do not see him on the list, unfortunately, so won't be able to see him race here. Benzoko at times has been fast, but a bit up and down. Tixier, another one that just hasn't had the luck, and that's why you see him as far down as 6, even though he was fighting for a championship a few seasons ago. From there, Robert Plumley and John Olsen actually tied with Ryan Walker, only a single point behind them, and Laust Olsen also extremely tight in the top 10. What about the F2 championship?
Well, David Rossi still leads the F2 championship. He did actually, he didn't take away the high score from Imola, actually. That went to Pecaristo, who picked up 40. But Rossi's 32 was literally double the number to Michael Grissinger. He picked up 16. So a little bit of a change around there. Grissinger 11 points back now in second. Gary Ho 26 back in third. With Don Peak, he's in a tight battle for that fourth spot. He's 34 points off the lead, but he's only got 1 point advantage over Robert Oberta in fifth place. And then a little bit of a step back to Hideki Kavista in sixth, but he's in a close fight for that with both Timothy Porter and Marcus Sofer. They're all within 4 points there. And then 10 points further back, Jean Rodriguez, 66 points behind. With Zach Purcell, he's just 1 point further back in 10th.
And as we take a look here at the Cup of Nations, up at the top of them, Finland has now jumped ahead of Canada by 6 points. And you've got the United States still giving them a run for their money, in Spain and Japan not too far behind. From there, it starts to get a little distant, with the United Kingdom 38 points back, and Singapore pretty close to them. That's Sebastian Tixier, who is racing for that country. Australia, Denmark, and Norway rounding out your top 10. We are in the midst of the qualifying, and all cars are still looking to finish. What amazes me is, despite the fog here today, we still have a relatively warm track temperature at 100 degrees and quite a bit of wind, which I would think would blow the fog away. But again, I guess some of the more unique settings we have seen thus far in iRacing.
Yeah, 98% humidity, and as you can see coming down the front stretch there, it is going to make visibility a little bit difficult for us. Thankfully, when you're in the car, it's not too bad. And Olsen has just shot straight past turn 1 there, so I don't think that was a visibility problem. I think he just didn't get to the brakes early enough. But interestingly, with that wind direction there, east 12 miles an hour, I actually don't know the direction that the front stretch points in, but if that swings around and turns into a headwind, that's going to significantly increase the draft power and help us out with some overtakes. And I mean, the straightaway is very, very long anyway. It's over 1 kilometer in length. So we're going to see overtakes on the front stretch no matter what, but the wind direction will play a factor in just how many of those we see.
Topi finally sets a time, and he takes the pole away from Hawken, who is actually getting ready to finish his second lap already. So number 1 and number 2 cars are vying for those spots on the grid. Here's Sebastian Tixier. First lap was good enough for 4th. I think Laust Olsen screwed up his second lap, I believe. I'll need to double check that. And here comes Tixier across the line for his second one. 34 flat, much faster, and that's going to put him on the front row ahead of Hawken, who is now coming across the line himself past the pit entry. Takes a long time to get down there as we ride on board. 34.3, slower for him, so no better than 3rd.
And so that's an interesting point about the length of the straightaway. This car is a 5-gear car, so they're not, they're not like a stock car. They're not struggling too badly in terms of having to really space out ratios to make 4th long enough for the straightaway. But that said, that there isn't a huge number of combinations for those lower gears in the final drive. Up through 1 through 3 in the final drive is actually very, very tricky to get right. And I suspect that we're going to see some variation throughout the field, and that again might influence just kind of the acceleration rates out of the slow speed corners, and then areas of the lap where you're stronger or weaker versus others. Kind of like how we see at other tracks with really, really long straightaways such as Le Mans.
Absolutely. Jorge Nieva now crossing the line, newly into the F1 championship, having graduated from F2, and he goes into 8th. He's got a chance for one more lap. He should have just enough time here with a few seconds to spare to get back around and see if he can go quicker. Topi Korteniemi improved and is now 2/10 ahead of Tixier, who was able to get it down to a 34 flat on his second lap. The other thing that I wonder about is we already saw Laust Olsen have trouble. That's downhill into that first corner and going at such high speeds at a car with long braking zones. I'm kind of thinking, Christian, we're going to see a lot of that today.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that the turn 1 braking zone is it's kind of got that weird deal with kind of the impression of the speed. I don't think it's particularly clear just how fast you're actually going in the 49 before you're coming into such a difficult braking zone. And it's very, very easy to overshoot that because of that. And there's other areas around the track where it's the same. We're not running the GP chicane, but that corner in and of itself is also quite tricky. And I actually prefer the layout without the chicane, because I think kind of having to shoot through that elbow is going to help with some passes into that final sector in case someone makes a mistake there.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that's a lot more of a fun corner when it is that little quick flick through there. Although you have to brake quite a bit in this car, not quite as much in more modern downforce machines. Jorge to the line. Is he going to be any faster? It's going to be close, and it's a 34.5. He jumps up to 5th at the last moment. Let's go through our starting order. Topi Korteniemi will be on the pole. Sebastian Tixier will be second. After that, it's Brandon Hawken starting from 3rd. Timo Karjalainen starts in the 4th position, and Jorge Nieva, as we've followed him across the line, was able to get 5th right at the end. Brian Walker to his outside will be followed by John Atkinson Jr. Bill Tyler starts from 8th, and John Olsen 9th, with Ben Zoko rounding out your top 10.
Miro Razgi lines up in 11th alongside Matthew Maudsley, and then Robert Plumley, some slip down in the championship standings. He was as high as 2nd for a long time there. He's lining up alongside Yuri Geisen. Good to see him back here in the series. With Michael Grissinger, Laust Olsen, again, Laust a little bit further back than we used to see him, back here in 16th. F2 points leader David Rossi in 17th, with Will Lamb alongside him in 18th. Cam Porter with a really nice qualifying time. He's here in 19th, with Robert Pangrazi lining up alongside him in 20th.
Tobias Harnvey is 21st. You've got Marcus Seusser in 22nd. Then it's Andrew Ang, P23. Donald Peak continuing to improve on his qualifying attempts. He's 24th today. Hideki Koivisto will be 25th, and Robert Abrota in 26th. You've got Tim Porter, 27th, and it's Connor Babel in 28th, followed by Emilio Largo, 29th, and Koichi Nakajima racing from 30th at the start.
And Aldrich Frauenberg, the last driver to set a qualifying time, but 3 seconds slower than the 30th place time. He lines up in 31st. Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado, all the way back here, no time set, 32nd with Matthew Johns, Christian Abrabus, Zach Purcell, and back row Bob taking up his customary position in 36th.
All right, waiting on the last of them to get out there. Looks like Pangrazi is going to be the final remaining car that needs to grid up, and then we'll be on our way for 20 laps for the first time ever in the Lotus 49 Series at Fuji Speedway. And looks like that is it. He's not going to grid up. He'll have to start from pit lane as the engines now start to rev and the lights come up. And the green flag is out. It looks decent for our front row. Both of them getting away quite well, but not so for Hawken. He's already being challenged from behind, as it looks like the likes of Karjalainen is going to try and get to the inside, but he's not quite there behind them. 3 and 4 wide through the first hairpin. Checking to see if we have any issues, and it looks like everybody was able to make it through.
Yeah, there was a little bit of contact in the mid-pack, but fortunately it was pretty much front end straight to gearbox, so it just shunted someone a little bit forwards. Didn't turn them around, because that would have been chaos if it had.
Down through 100R and into the hairpin for the first time in anger. Looks like everybody's getting single file quite quickly. A little bit of an attempt back there as Robert Plumley's trying to take 11th from Hraski. But for the most part, the front group seems to be trying to get into a rhythm here before they start battling too much. And now they fly through Dunlop.
Yeah, and someone is off on the run down to Dunlop. It's Will Lamb. I'm not sure how he's ended up in the outside wall, but he has.
Saw a big threat as we ride on board with Tixier from Hawken, trying to see if he can get past him. He wants to try and fight with Courtenay. He knows his battle right now in the points is with that number 2 car, and he does not want to lose more than he needs to as he tries to catch up to him. Now on to the front stretch once again. Maudsley, for some reason I see, is falling down the order. He must have had some sort of issue, but here comes the slipstream battles.
Yeah, Maudsley is spun around just before Panasonic.
Big run here from Hawken. This gives us an idea of just how valuable that slipstream is, and is he going to be able to complete the pass down into the braking behind them? It's awful close with Karjalainen nearly running to the back of them, but it looks like Hawken is able to make it stick.
Yeah, and the crucial thing here for Topi Courtenay is that he's got that 1.3 second lead. He's kind of out of this battle now, so this has gone as perfectly as it can for him. And we've seen, throughout the season, that at the beginning of the season, his race starts were, well, let's just say they were eventful and not in a good way for him. So recently he's been able to break away, and he's done that again this week.
Ooh, another close moment there where Tixier nearly got into Hawken, but now they sorted out. For some reason, Laust Olsen has come into pit lane. I'm not sure if he had some issues or some contact out there. Maybe he was the two that came together, and there goes Tixier spinning off to the grass coming out of Dunlop.
We talked about how that kind of kink through Dunlop instead of taking the GP chicane was going to cause more overtakes. That's not quite what I had in mind, and unfortunate mistake there for Tixier.
He gets it going, but he fell down to 12th. We've also got Harnvey doing the exact same thing behind him. So Tobias Harnvey falls well down to the back end of the pack. So here's Tixier. Just touches the grass.
The grass. So this is actually something I really like about this track, and I imagine that Sebastian Tixier probably doesn't like it right now, but this system of having this grass strip as the track edge and then paved runoff afterwards, it's brilliant because it actually enforces the track limits properly and is a safe solution as well. I wish we had this at more tracks.
I agree. I've been wondering why more tracks haven't implemented something like this. As we come over to Koivisto now, trying to fight his way upwards through the first corner. And it looks like he's able to get by, or no, not quite able to get by Salgado. In fact, Salgado up into 16th now, starting from 32nd. So he's made up a lot of ground. He's already halfway through the field.
Yeah, he's made a great start. I mean, just on lap 3 to have essentially passed half the field. I'm not sure how he did it, but yeah, it must have been a great getaway and a very, very aggressive first lap, but he's made it work.
Well, Maudsley, Olsen, Lamb, and Pengrazi helped him out a little bit there, as all of them have been in the pits, and in fact, some are still in pit lane. I think Olsen has just returned to the track right now, as we now hop on board with Sebastian Tixier, giving us his perspective, coming through the infield section at the end of the lap. This is through nets, and then switching back through Panasonic. Really want to try and get the exit off this uphill right-hander.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just love that he has the actual steering wheel from the Lotus 49 in his cockpit there. I need to get one of those. It just looks so cool.
I remember seeing in the forums many years ago when that first got advertised, a bunch of guys definitely hopped on that, as he's going to try and head to the inside of Yuri Geisen down into Daiichi, and it looks like he might be able to get through if he can just get the exit off the corner, side by side as they head towards Coca-Cola. He's through.
Yeah, Geisen choosing not to fight through Coca-Cola there. I think that's a smart decision. He didn't really have the run. He would have still been there on the inside, I think, but going too wide through there, it's just such a detriment to the line, and then it really hurts you all the way down to the hairpin because you're offline all the way through 100R.
So as we watch Sebastian in the 7 continue to try to make up for his early mistake, he's certainly doing well right now. But over to the number 5 car, sitting in 7th. Look at this pack. That's Tyler on John Atkinson and Ryan Walker. So this is a battle for 5th.
And we've seen this in past weeks as well. I believe Long Beach, where Walker kind of had a little bit of a pack formed up behind him, and we've seen that he can handle the pressure of this situation, but unlike Long Beach, it's quite a bit easier to pass at Fuji, so I wouldn't be too surprised if we see him losing a couple of spots here down the straightaway.
And this is gathering up a lot of cars. We were just following Tixier earlier. Well, he's actually on the back of this train. It goes all the way down to 12th that he's got competitors breathing down his neck. So looking from over the Ford engine, there is the train. All the cars lined up coming into the first corner, and Atkinson almost there, but not quite, so Walker will live to fight another day.
Yeah, and just speaking of Atkinson there, Bill Tyler behind him is looking quite aggressive right now, so if he doesn't get the move done on Ryan, then he's probably vulnerable himself to being passed here.
This is where most of the action is right now. We're not missing anything with our top 3. Kortaniemi is still those 2 seconds ahead of Håkan. Karjalainen is at least threatening, but isn't really attempting anything yet on Håkan for that second position. Man, looking very good for Atkinson, coming off the hairpin side to side, trying to find an opening as they head towards Dunlop out of 300R here. Very fast right-hander into another fast right-hander. Just a quick flick, trying to stay off that inside curb. Ooh, and big moment behind them as Bill Tyler just about lost it on his way through.
Yeah, Atkinson, he was on that grass strip that we saw Tixier spin around on, and it really, really checked up his exit. And Tyler looked almost to the inside like he was going to make a move into the subsequent right-hander. He thought better of it, but crucially, this has dropped Atkinson just a little bit away from Walker and closer to Tyler. So it might be Atkinson losing the spot here rather than Ryan Walker.
We'll see. Yeah, coming off of Panasonic, it looks like a very good exit from Bill Tyler. Atkinson not moving over to the inside to defend. He's going to leave it open. Tyler's going to take advantage of that, side by side into the braking, but it's going to be a game of chicken to see who can get deeper and make the apex as things get tight with Walker in front of them. It continues on out of the corner now, and it looks like advantage Atkinson down into Coca-Cola.
Yeah, Atkinson just got a slightly better run, able to sweep across the front of Bill Tyler there before they got to Coca-Cola. For a moment into turn 1, both of them braking later than Ryan Walker. I thought they were going to both overshoot the apex, but somehow Bill Tyler actually ran the entire corner on the inside curb.
Beautiful stuff from both of them to keep it together and keep it from making contact with each other or with Walker. As thankfully the fog has not grounded our chopper here today, giving us those beautiful views down through Dunlop. It seems like it is getting a little bit clear out. It's definitely more sunny, and for that it's also hotter. It's up to 118 Fahrenheit, 48 Celsius on the track surface now.
Yeah, the humidity's gone down by 1%, and that seems to have made a surprising difference to visibility here.
Ooh, behind them, there's a pass for, looks like 8th position, Zoko on John Olsen. And now it's going to be a drag race coming down the front stretch. You can see them side by side as off track went Yuri Geisen in the background as well, using up that paved runoff as much as he can. Olsen with the advantage. Looks like his gearing a little better here than Zoko once they hit the end of the straight. And don't forget about Sebastian Tixier also inserting himself into this. Still side by side down into Daiichi. And once again, it's going to be advantage car inside on the next left-hander.
Yeah, and just up ahead of that, Bill Tyler has got past John Atkinson Jr. Reversal of the prior lap. He was able to get a better run out and sweep ahead in front of Coca-Cola.
That's not made for Zoko there as we rode on board, so he stays behind. Tixier now going for it down to the hairpin in the background. Let's see if the Singapore driver can make it stick as they come off the left-hander and then into 300R. He's around the outside and he hangs tough to make it work.
He has, but now you see Plumley going to the outside into Dunlop. I'm not sure this is going to work, but it's given him a really good exit. Zoko's on the outside now.
The over-under through a very fast corner and just about gets the inside into the next sequence of corners, but looks like that one will not work for him. Although, whoa, he makes contact and spins Zoko around. Plumley is through, and not the way I think he wanted to.
Yeah, just a concertina there into, I believe the corner's called Nitz?
Nets, N-E-T-Z, yeah.
Either way, Plumley, you see here, this is one of the things to do with this last sector where there's so much crossing lines going on. See, Plumley, he was completely over the apex curb. Zoko took a totally different line and unfortunately just crossed over there. Zoko getting spun around. Fortunately for him, didn't seem like he was going to lose any more positions because they did have a nice gap back to the next group, but unfortunately for Zoko, that now means he's under threat from Rasky.
Ooh, and Plumley and Geisen are now trying to see who can take the 10th place as they go side by side through Coca-Cola. It's going to be Plumley who stays within the top 10. It's still tight here, and Yuri is going to try and fight back as we come back to the number 4 car here. This is Atkinson on Tyler and Walker, so it looks like John's not giving up on that 6th position despite Tyler getting by. And into the end of the lap, they're going to be flying down that front stretch soon. Let's see who can get the better exit.
Yeah, I think this grouping is just going to be stuck together for the entire race. We're over a third of the way in now, and really, aside from Topi Kordanimi, who's been able to escape, we're just seeing kind of the formation of a lot of small groups and battles throughout the field.
It does seem to be bringing them together. Not what I expected for this track. It seems pretty technical, but that front stretch, like you said, causing the draft battles to be kind of locked into one another. And down they fly, looking for the breaking of the first corner as we head back to Cam Porter, giving a little bit of a glance on him. This is just ahead of Hideki Koivisto, who's fighting for 18th. Cam in 17th and up what looks like 2 positions, but Koivisto's up 7. So I wouldn't be surprised if the 19 car is going to catch up to Cam and try and give him a run for his money.
Yeah, and up ahead of this, Bill Tyler was actually alongside Ryan Walker into Coca-Cola. Wasn't able to pull the pass off, but is back to that group altogether. John Atkinson now looking to the inside into the hairpin.
So Tyler now coming back at him, and Atkinson is hoping that maybe he could take advantage. See if he could try and make a pass as those two are distracted with one another. And 300R into Dunlop has definitely been the action zone. Off this fast right-hander, and it looks like nobody's able to make the move here quite yet. But now, once again, into nets, right, a left, and then a right into Panasonic. And things so sketchy. We've already seen at least one bit of contact and definitely 3 different lines between each of these cars now through here. And somebody just took a tow to their outside. I'm not sure who that was.
Yeah, I'm not sure who we had off there, but there was a great overhead view.
That's
you see someone
Salgado.
parked to the outside. Salgado, after his just amazing rise through the field, he was up as high as 16th, but unfortunately has lost 11 spots now.
I see no hit or anything. He just stopped on the track as this battle is now side by side into the first corner. And almost managing to get him, but not quite. Walker still keeps Tyler behind. Atkinson not able to do anything with it, but remember Sebastian Tixier. These guys are going to remember him in a moment because he's now up to 8th and looking like he wants to make it a 4-car battle.
Yeah, I was just about to add to that the recovery in Tixier has closed up to them, and I think that this is kind of going to be as high as he can possibly get throughout the race. He's just looking like he's too far back to recover any further, but he's definitely going to want these 3 spots.
So as far as I can guess, Salgado must have had some sort of hardware issue with a frozen screen or missing pedal or wheels at some point, because his car just came to a halt on its own.
Mistake from Atkinson.
Tixier is going to take a big advantage of that and get to the inside, coming into the right-hander on the infield portion of the lap, and he's going to be side by side. Tries to sweep to the outside and cut back underneath. Will this work? It'll put him on the outside of Panasonic, and no, not this time. Maybe on this one, as once again, he tries to open up the entry to the corner and then widen the exit as much as he can. He's going to get the slipstream, and Atkinson is not going to get the slipstream from Tyler. He's dropped way off the battle up in front of him. This has broken them up severely.
Yeah, you see Atkinson going defensive here. Tixier is going to be forced to go to the outside. He does have the better run. He might be clear into turn 1. Doesn't look like he's going to be there. Atkinson's still staying on the inside. Tixier is having to go really, really deep here. He's not, well, he does look like he's going to have the run on the towards Coca-Cola.
That was Nakajima that they went by exiting pit lane. Not sure why he was in there, but obviously had some sort of repairs to do, and he is now back out. And man, things are looking wild between Atkinson and Tixier as John is trying to see if he can set himself up, maybe for a sneak attack, coming down into the hairpin as they break for the left-hander. And no, he's not quite there. So it looks like Tixier's got it done. He sets his sights now up to Tyler.
Yeah, to be honest, Atkinson could kind of help himself out here by just staying on the back of Tixier, not attacking, and allowing Tixier to pull him back up to this next pair ahead. But it was really interesting to see how Tixier went about that pass. You kind of see what seems like sort of half-hearted moves into these kind of corners towards the end of the lap, where you think that they're not really going to come off. But the intention with those moves in a kind of a draft pack is not to do that. It's more to break the pack apart so that you're only fighting one car, because if Atkinson had been in the draft of Tyler and Walker, it would have been so much more difficult for Tixier to pull that move off. And even with him being pulled off the back, Tixier still had to go the long way around and wasn't able to finish the pass until he got on the run down to Coca-Cola.
Impressive stuff. Now off to Tim Porter, a little bit farther back in the field as we watch him playing a little bit of a game of chicken as well. This is coming, looks like Andre behind him, I think, right now. Andrew Ang, excuse me. This is the 28 that is chasing for 25th position. A little bit of an issue coming through nets, but looks like he holds on to it. And now they swing back into Panasonic as one of our favorite liveried cars starts to stretch out its legs.
Yeah, I think he's going to be vulnerable down the front stretch here. Doesn't look like he's going to go defensive, but certainly Andrew Ang's going to have the run on him.
So he's going to be able to pull on him, but I don't think he is close enough. That'll at least keep him in touch. And as they all downshift into the corner. Looks like they're going to stay as they are. We head back to Tixier once again, already up to Bill Tyler. This race is going to be a question of what could have been for Sebastian because he looks mighty quick out there today.
Yeah, I think we've kind of seen this from Seb a lot, to be honest, when we've been covering the 49 series, is that he has very, very good pace almost all of the time, but something just always goes wrong for him. I really feel for him because obviously you can see his commitment earlier with having the wheel from the car and everything, and we know he puts in a lot of practice time and he's been a series regular for such a long time, but still yet to pick up that Saturday morning race win.
Wow, he came from a long way back. Sebastian almost got victim from the over-under as Tyler just about was able to respond. But no, it looks like Sebastian Tixier is not going to be denied today. That was the most decisive pass we've seen into that opening hairpin. Let's take another look at it.
It comes from very far back, but was able to get the car slowed up.
And he knew. Look at how early he positioned himself. I would not have been that confident. That is amazing.
He wasn't even close to overshooting the corner. That's what was really impressive about it. I thought, okay, he might get this done. He might run deep, and then he'll be invulnerable for the over/under. But it didn't happen at all. He just pulled it up straight to the apex curb. Looked like he had twice the braking power of Tyler. Oh, John Atkinson behind, having a spin.
Oh no. Olsen's going to be able to sneak by. Looks like Yuri Geisen as well, and he has to actually back it up. And once again, another driver falling victim to Dunlop, which has proven to be quite the fearsome corner. Car didn't look completely in control even when he was coming up to the grass there. So that just kind of sealed the deal, it looks like.
Yeah, a good decision, though, to back it up before pulling back onto the track. You always want to, try and get on so quickly, but you got to make sure you don't kind of do a loop right in front of the field.
So this time, Sebastian not able to pull off quite as impressive of a move. He's got 7 laps to try and finish this and get himself up into 5th. Now, if he's able to pass Ryan Walker, he's the first in that huge train we saw earlier that had about 7 or 8 cars that'll be able to do so. Nobody has gotten by the number 6. He has become, I'm not sure if he's going to like this term, but he's become the Jarno Trulli of this league.
Yeah, he really has, and we mean that in the nicest of ways.
Yes,
he qualifies very, very well. But typically doesn't go forward in the races. He has actually gone forward 1 spot at the expense of Tixier here, but I think he's about to return that.
Yeah, usually that is a bit of an insult, but in this point, honestly, the fact that he's been able to keep so many cars behind in a non-aero-dependent car says something about the racecraft of Ryan Walker. He goes a little wide there down through nets. I wonder if he's not going to be able to survive this time, because look at how close Sebastian Tixier is. All he needs is good grip off the corner here.
Yeah, but I do think the Walker's wise to Tixier's move on the inside. Last time I saw him going a little bit defensive, giving up a bit of lap time, but was probably a smart move to retain the position. But Tixier, I mean, this was about as close as you see Walker going in the inside. He's going defensive because he knows the move's coming.
And man, once again, the braking is just phenomenal for Sebastian Tixier, but he's going to do it around the outside this time. And does he have the grip coming off the right-hander? Yes, he does. He's going to be side by side. He's not fully ahead quite yet, but as long as he's brave through Coca-Cola, this should be job done. And it is. Wow, Sebastian Tixier now up into 5th, and he has been giving us some highlight reel material today.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just been so good on the brakes into turn 1. Not sure why he's going defensive into the hairpin here. I don't think he was vulnerable from Walker there, but he's made himself vulnerable now on the run down to Dunlop.
Yeah, Ryan knows his way around this place, it seems. He has been very savvy with this track, despite it being the first time the 49s have visited here. They all break into the right-hander. Nothing doing for him there. Now, will he try and give him a taste of his own medicine? And if he does, he's going to have to learn a few tricks on the brakes, I think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough ask to outbrake the 7 car today, but I think Walker's going to want that spot back. You know, it is a top 5, and that's valuable to people. I know I always kind of raced a bit harder when it was for a top 5, a top 10. So I think he is going to try and get the spot back.
Yep, so he's going to be able to use the slipstream here, and he's going to at least get the opportunity. So he looks down to the outside. So where is Tixier's braking this time? Not quite as deep as it was before. Maybe the inside line a little bit more difficult for him there, but he does rebuff him.
Yeah, but I was wondering if Walker was going to run wide a little bit, and he did. It was not a lot. It was just enough that he meant, oh, and he's run very wide into Coca-Cola. This might be a slowdown for him as well.
Let's see. And yes, he's got a slowdown penalty over his head right now. He hasn't served it yet. And Bill Tyler now, no doubt, is going to be trying to see if he could sneak through. Walker still having to give back. Oh, and he's done it. He's done it, and he's kept Tyler behind.
Yeah, but crucially, he's dropped off Tixier, and now Tyler looking into Dunlop. I don't think we've seen a pass here. He's trying to get to the apex curve, but was never alongside Walker.
No, doesn't do it that time. So we head over to Timo Karjalainen instead. Now, this has been sitting here, hovering at this distance apart pretty much the entire race. This is for second place. That's Hawken in the yellow car, Karjalainen behind him in the white and blue. And he's going to get the slipstream, as I think he's done for much of the race. But I wonder if this is a gearing issue here. Maybe Hawken just that much quicker at the start of the straightaway, and that's keeping him, that's preventing Timo from really getting a good enough run.
Yeah, I see Timo very close through turn 1, and certainly Hawken is not safe from Timo, but we haven't really seen a move from him. We haven't seen much of a battle. It's kind of just been a bit of a single file affair for this second spot. Neither of them have got the pace for Kortanimi. He's out over 5.5 seconds ahead at this point.
What if I could have a little bit of nepotism? Don Peak just had a great pass through through Dunlop. And we were just talking about how hard it is to make that pass over Roberto Broda. If we could take a glance at this one. I think Robert had some issues on the way into the corner. And Don just took advantage, ducked his nose down to the inside, kept it from drifting into the side of Rob, and then finished it up heading into the net sequence.
Yeah, like Robert went a bit defensive, a bit unnecessarily, and it cost him there. But I'm going to have to remember that phrase, though, a little bit of nepotism. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that.
Yeah, there's another look at it and finishes it up into the second part of the right-hander. Nicely done. Well, back up towards the... and going a little bit wide there. This is into the hairpin. Don still having some fun here. So as we jump up now to Robert Plumley in the meantime, this is with John Atkinson, or excuse me, Yuri Geisen just in front of him. This is for 10th position. They've got Ben Zoko a little bit up the road. It looks like he's starting to pull away from them after he's recovering from his being spun around a little bit earlier on. A look to the inside. Plumley, though, not quite close enough, and certainly doesn't have the cojones that we saw Tixier had earlier.
Yeah, and Yuri here having a fairly nice but quiet-ish race, I would say. He's up 4 spots. He's inside the top 10, but obviously Plumley on the recovery drive, as is John Atkinson Jr. I don't think that John is going to be able to close the gap in the number of laps he has left. It's just too much. It's about 5 seconds in 3 laps.
Yeah, honestly, Yuri, who's still under threat here. Plumley trying to get inside of him down through nets. Looks like that's not going to, or excuse me, through the hairpin, it looks like, and that's not going to stick. Only Yuri Geisen has managed to get multiple positions within the top 10. Everybody else has only been up. One big slide for Plumley, and he's starting to look a little bit desperate now.
Yeah, I think he wasn't quite expecting Yuri to slow up as much as he did through Dunlop.
This is back up to Bill Tyler now. Still stuck behind Ryan Walker. So now Bill has not only been stuck here, but he's watched Sebastian Tixier slice through the pair of them. And so coming a little bit farther back, this is, or no, farther up rather, this is Karjalainen and Hawken that we're watching out of the hairpin. So Timo starting to get more threatening here as they fly through Coca-Cola.
Yeah, Timo looking like he can make the move with 2 to go, but he's lost one of his major opportunities here. He's only going to have one more run down into turn 1, but we have seen passes here in the hairpin and on the run to Dunlop, so I'm sure he's going to give it a go. Now is definitely the time. He's been sat behind in 3rd spot for the entirety of the race.
See if he can unleash the pace that he thinks he has over Brandon Hawken as they break into Dunlop once again. Some lap traffic just ahead of them. That's not Topi Kortaniemi. He's about 6 seconds up the road now, and unfortunately getting a little bit in the way at the apex. That was Nakajima trying to stay out of their fight. Didn't hurt either of them, or at least one over the other, it seems. And now the white flag waits as they get ready to exit Panasonic.
Yeah, and a lot of lap traffic ahead of him here. You just about see it on the front stretch. I think it's far enough ahead that it's not going to be a factor in their battle, but obviously on the run to nets there, Timo got compromised just enough that he's not going to have the opportunity on Hawken into turn 1.
Yeah, he's going to have to hope for a mistake, I think, from Brandon from here on out, unless he gets very close to that gearbox as Topi continues to lead up in front of them. That's a pretty decent exit from Timo. He's got it down to 0.3 of a second, but he's going to need to be even closer than that. Coming through Coca-Cola now, both of them taking a lot of inside curb.
Yeah, and as we see down into turn 1 here, this battle with Ryan Walker and Tyler still going on.
And still isn't able to get by down into turn 1, unfortunately. Still hanging on him. Meanwhile, Hawken and Karjalainen coming through the hairpin. A little bit of a look from Timo, but that seems to have bit him. He went from 0.3 back to 0.6.
Yeah, this looks like it's too much now, unless we have a mistake from Hawken through the final sector. As we go back to Topi Kortaniemi, who was reminding us that, yes, he was still in the race and still leading the race as he banged in the fastest lap just 2 laps ago.
Topi has won the last 2 races. And I asked who is going to be our inaugural victor here at Fuji Speedway for the Grand Prix Legend Series. Topi has answered that one. The Finn takes victory here today in Japan. Hawken is going to be able to keep Karjalainen behind him to at least limit the damage with 2nd place. Timo takes the last step on the podium. How about the quiet run from Jorge Nieva to grab 4th today, and poor Sebastian Tixier could only get to the top 5 after starting from the front row.
Just behind that, it looks like Ryan Walker has prevailed over Bill Tyler, I believe.
Looking at 25 cars finishing on the lead lap. That's quite a few here. A bit of a longer lap, so that certainly helped as Zoko celebrating across the line, having gotten himself a top 10, finishing 9th today, up 1 from where he started, despite being spun around at one point in this race. Christinger going to barely beat David Rossi in that F2 championship. So David finishing 16th.
Yeah, and for that 10th spot, actually, it did flip around. Robert Plumley was able to get past Yuri Geisen.
So that happened later on. We must have missed that one. And Don Peak up 5 spots into 19th there today as the last of them now trickle across the line. That's going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Fuji Speedway. Our first ever race for the Grand Prix Legends Series here was won by Topi Kortaniemi, and quite handily. Never really challenged after they got off the line. Brandon Hawken wound up second. He was challenged as Timo Karjalainen finished behind him. It was Jorge Nieva just off the podium who grabbed a valuable fourth, as Sebastian Tixier was fifth. He started on the front row, unfortunately spun himself out early in the race and spent the rest of it really trying to make a lot of overtakes. Gave us a lot to watch, though. Ryan Walker was sixth, and Tixier was pretty much the only one able to pass him here today. Everybody else was stuck behind him all race long, including Bill Tyler, who finished seventh. John Olsen was eighth, and then Ben Zoko, who got spun around himself with a little bit of contact, recovered to ninth. Robert Plumley rounds out your top 10.
Yuri Geisen with a nice return to the series here. Started 14th, finished 11th. Fortunately, John Atkinson, he went the other way, started 7th and fell back to 12th after a late spin. Mirareski comes home in 13th spot with Cam Porter +5 alongside him in 14th. Michael Grissinger 15th to 15th, but does come home ahead of the F2 points leader David Rossi, who finishes in 16th. Hideki Kavista 25th to 17th, a nice run by him. Likewise, Marcus Seifer, he went 22nd to 18th. Don Peak, we saw him making a couple of passes today, comes home with a top 20 in 19th. And Robert Herrera, he has a nice rise as well, 26th to 20th.
Tobias Harnvey was 21st, exactly where he started. Connor Babel in 22nd. Then it's Zach Purcell in P23, up from 35th. Nice climb. Andrew Ang was P24. You've got Tim Porter, the last one on the lead lap, in 25th. Then it's Matthew Johns, 26th, and Christian Ribas, 27th. Matthew Maudsley, 28th. Last one lap down was Back Row Bob in 29th. Laus Stolson got the car back out, finished 30th from there. Drivers who had major issues who wound up having to visit pit lane and get some repairs, eventually getting back out, and some being DNFs here from Largo on down, unfortunately. We've got our winner ready to talk to us, Topi Kortaniemi, so let's have a little chat with the Finn, who is now on a hat trick of wins. And Topi, could you see the checkered flag? Because it looked a little foggy out there.
Yeah, double check, so I don't stop a lap early. I've had my share of mishaps this season, so yeah. I don't know which one got it on the line, me or the Netscape car. It was a tight to the line.
I think he managed to finish the last lap, it looks like, because I see him scored on the lead lap. But talk about this first visit to the track. You didn't have a lot of fun getting to race other cars, it seemed. I'm not sure how disappointed you are on that, but what do you think of the track itself and how the 49 handles here?
I like the track. The long sweepers and the middle sector, it's kind of like you got the turn 2, and how you take turn 2 kind of like affects the whole next section all the way to Dunlop curve. The tight right-hander in the middle, I don't know the turn numbers, they're so weird in this track, but anyway, it's fun because you're kind of like having to be on the limit, which on a turn or a kink, which is kind of like a straight in any other car, so it's fast. I didn't know how to fix the long banked right-hander. I always get understeer there, but it's not an important corner, and I just had to live with it and then enjoy the rest of the track.
And it seemed like you did enjoy it quite well. Unfortunately, you talked about the long sweepers. Not going to get many of them as we stay in Japan for Okayama next week. Are you going to go 4 for 4 there?
Okayama is not my favorite, but I guess I still have the race. I'm hoping to race with Brandon. I think we're battling for the championship, but I have never got the honors to kind of like battle too wide with him. But it looked fun in the barber, so I'm looking forward to that.
We're looking forward to it as well. Congratulations on your third win in a row. Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, Timo for keeping Brandon busy, and you guys, and yeah.
That was Topi Kortaniemi, your victor here at Fuji, and Christian's caught up with Brandon, who certainly seemed to definitely have his hands full.
Yeah, Brandon, it looked like you were locked in a battle the entire race there with Timo, but you were able to fend him off. Can you talk about how hard it was to defend for essentially the entire race?
Yeah, for the first little bit, it wasn't too bad because had a decent gap, but about halfway through the race, there it started closing up, and yeah, there wasn't really much I could do about it. I don't think. Yeah, he was just a lot faster on brakes and turning, and yeah, I was just hoping he'd just stay back there for a little while longer. But man, yeah, there was a great race there with him. He got really close there on the last lap, and so I just yeah, drove a bit of a defensive line. I'm not sure what turn it was. It was after that long right turn, and yeah, fortunately, I think he moved to go the outside, and it didn't quite work out. So I was able to get enough of a gap to not have to worry coming down the front straightaway there. But man, yeah, great race from him, and congrats to Topi again. He did a really great job, and man, I'm gonna have to try and find something here. I'm not sure what I'm looking for, but man, yeah, he's been on fire. So yeah, definitely. Need to work on it some more. I definitely felt better than last week, that's for sure. But yeah, still missing something. So gotta go try find it.
Well, that was actually going to be my next question. You know, you started off the season with 2 straight wins, Mid-Ohio and Barber, whilst Topi kind of had a lot of misfortune really at both of those rounds. But since then, you've come home with the 2nd spot, so you've only been losing 5 points to him per race. But do you kind of have any idea where just this little bit of pace, because it's really not a lot. I mean, you know, you think 7 seconds over 20 laps. It's not a whole lot. We're talking about 3/10 perhaps, which actually sounds quite a bit. But do you have any idea where this magical 3/10 might be, and if you're going to be able to find it by the time we get to Okayama, and then going beyond that? You know, we've got Monza, Michigan, Silverstone, Catalonia, Spa to round out the season. Do you have the points advantage? Do you think you're going to be able to overturn this deficit, or just kind of hold on as we kind of get to the end of the season?
Well, I'd definitely like to try and turn it back around there. I don't know, like something that's been consistent the entire time has been like I've been kind of like out of control on the brakes, but if I go up on the brake bias, I don't stop, and if I go back 0.5%, I spin. So and corner entry. Yeah, I just can't quite get the rotation in, so I'm just gonna try some like super wacky stuff and see if it like does anything. The baseline is actually like really good, but like it's just like I'm not exactly sure. I've been trying a whole bunch of stuff, but yeah, I just can't quite get that couple extra tenths there per lap, and especially in qualifying, I seem to be like consistently about like 4 tenths off. So and then at the beginning of the race, I feel okay, and then yeah, it just gets kind of like worse throughout the run. So I'm just gonna try a whole bunch of stuff for next week, and like I definitely felt better. I thought it was gonna be a little bit better than it was, but yeah, I'll just keep like throwing stuff at it. I'm not entirely sure, but I'll see if I can get there before next week, or the next week, or the week after. I'm not sure.
Well, I know in the 49 that one area that's kind of particularly driver specific and sensitive, well, combination really, is the differential build, and obviously brake bias, as you've already said. That's probably where I would kind of focus a little bit of time, and
okay,
I saw a little bit of information from Topi actually earlier in the week, where he was talking about kind of some subtle changes to the dampers just to get a little bit more feel. So
okay,
hopefully I'm not giving away secrets there, but that's perhaps where I would look. Hopefully I don't send you off on kind of a blind path there. But
oh no, that's good. Thank you.
Well, next week, Okayama, obviously quite a different track. Any thoughts?
Yeah, that's I know it's a track a lot of us are familiar with. I know I drove a ton of it when I first started iRacing, so it's become one of my favorite tracks. So hopefully, hopefully, like, since I really love Fuji too, but Okayama would I'm sure like a lot of us have like way more laps there than a lot of other places. So hopefully I can focus a lot. Like, hopefully I get the driving down quickly, and then work on the setup and see how it goes. Yeah, should be a fun race there too. Got a nice long straightaway, some wide corners, some like really tight ones, really technical in the middle section there. So yeah, should be a really fun race, and looking forward to it.
well, we'll definitely be looking out for you. And congratulations on the second place finish, and we'll catch up with you hopefully next week as well.
Well, thank you, and thanks, guys.
That was Brandon Hawken, your second place finisher here today. Timo Karjalainen was the one that came home right behind him just by a couple tenths. And Timo, frustratingly close, but could not seem to overtake him. Were you guys just matched on pace, or was that good defense from Brandon?
I think it was... I think I was a little bit faster than him, but I didn't really get to my groove in the early race and just hang back after we lost draft at Pokey. And I think I could have passed him on the final lap, but sadly the left car, he parked it on the apex, and I misread the situation a little bit and lost the best edge coming to the final straight.
Yeah, we definitely saw our fair share of draft battles down the front stretch. It seemed like that long straight allowed this car to give people good opportunities, but never really saw you manage to get close enough down into that first hairpin. Do you think the gearing was different out of that final corner between you and Brandon?
I'm not sure. This was my first time on the draft here on this circuit with this car. So I'm not sure, but the draft wasn't really big for me. I only came to 10th when I was inside a second, and if I was within half a second, then I gained 2 tenths or so.
Well, I'm sure that'll be something that a lot of people are taking notes on then for later. But a third place, no mean feat in a car as difficult as this. Will we see you back next week here in Japan at Okayama?
Sadly, I'll be away next week. My plan is to do the last race of the season, trying to win then. Let's see if it happens this time. This time I didn't get the win. I have to go for another time.
Still a podium. Congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you back at the end of the season.
Thank you.
It's Timo Karjalainen in third place. One last one that we're going to talk to. It looks like Christian has caught up with Ben Zocco, who wound up 9th today.
Ben, we normally see a very measured kind of race from you, and it looked like we've seen that a bit today, but then you spun around towards the end of the lap, and it was kind of a recovery drive from there.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. I was looking forward to a good battle there. I saw Seb coming up behind, recovering from his mistake, and I was looking forward to putting on a bit of show and seeing how long I could hold him up for. And battling there with John was good too. Seb put a nice little surprise move on me down into one of the little hairpins. It's funny, actually, I was actually going to make a move there on John, but I kind of backed out of it. Thought, better not go, understeering straight into him. But there was room down the inside there for Seb. Well, I gave him room anyway. And shortly after that, I think trying to follow through was Robert, and he tagged the back of me on the exit and spun me around. And it's all good. He apologised afterwards, and I ended up catching back up. And I was looking forward to doing some passes to get back up, but everyone spun out in front of me, so it was a little bit what is it? Just disappointing, when something you're looking forward to something, it doesn't happen. And then I was able to kind of keep the same sort of pace as John there. I was quite surprised that after a spin, I was only like 4 seconds behind John. So I think maybe if it wasn't getting tagged, John and I could have had a few laps of more side-by-side battles, because we certainly went for a good half a lap side-by-side. It was good fun. But missed opportunity, I think, there.
Yeah, I would have to agree, I would say, but still, it's another top 10, and just looking back at kind of your points record throughout the season, it's been very, very strong. 46 points Mid-Ohio, 45 Barber, 41 Long Beach, 35 at Imola, always above 30 points, often above 40. Do you kind of have any goals championship wise? You got like a position that you're shooting to aim for, or are you just kind of taking it race by race?
Yeah, just race by race, out there to have fun. The championship doesn't matter too much to me. I'm very consistent, so I'm consistently around it. Like, as you can see in the points, I'm consistently battling with the same people, and I can do like the same lap times throughout the race. So it's just about having fun out there, and I imagine I'm going to finish somewhere in the top 10 overall, and I'll be happy with that. I'd like to beat John and Bill and Miro. Those are the people I'd like to beat, but it's going to be tight between a lot of us. We're very evenly matched on pace. It's really good to have people the same speed as you every week.
Yeah, definitely, and we've kind of seen that throughout the field, that we just sort of have these groups of drivers that are consistently fighting with each other, and it's great for us on broadcast because we always know it's going to happen, and we know where the battles are going to form and who's going to be in them most times. But next week, Akayama, you got any thoughts on that track? Obviously, we've kind of flipped around a lot this season. We seem to be going from a very high-speed track to a slow-speed track, then we went to a street course, and now we've kind of stepped back up to another high-speed track, but now we're going back to Akayama, which is kind of, a bit similar to Imola in a way.
It's good variety, and I was impressed with Fuji. It really suited this. Well, I don't know about suited this car, but it was fun to drive. I think this track would be a bit boring in a GT car or modern F1, but it was really fun in this car. Akayama, I love. It does provide closer lap times and battles. When you go into that hairpin, you can go side by side for like the rest of the lap with other skilled clean races that you'll find here in Grand Prix Legends series. So look forward to a tight race there, good battles. It should put on a good show.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And lastly, before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Thanks to John for the setup again. They're always good.
Well, thank you for coming to chat with us. Congratulations again on another top 10, and hopefully we'll catch up with you next week at Akayama as well.
So, see you then.
That was Ben Zocco, who finished 9th here today. And a big thank you, of course, goes out to the Lotus 49 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. But we're going to wrap up with some thank yous as well to the team today, Rob, Christian, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, website, merchandise store, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Our next race, as we mentioned, is going to be at Okayama, Saturday, July 30th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, and be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here. Up next today, the Camel GT Series goes to Silverstone at 1 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.